Hello there, my name is Jennifer Yeboah, and welcome to A Time with National Petroleum Authority. Recent developments in the downstream petroleum sector regarding persons engaged in illicit storage and trading of petroleum products have highlighted the importance of enhancing public awareness. In this Q&A session, Mr. David Kanga, the head of retail outlets and premix site at the National Petroleum Authority, will be addressing several frequently asked questions to provide valuable insight into the industry. Stick and stay.
The first requirement is that you must have an oil marketing company license, or what you will call an OMC license, or you must be sponsored by one of those institutions, a retail and OMC that has retail outlets. The authority does not grant permits directly to individuals. It has to be through an oil marketing company. So yes, you can construct a retail outlet through an OMC, or you must be an OMC yourself. Yeah, we have 4 stages in the construction and development of a fuel station. You have the no objection stage, you have the construction stage, you have the test run stage, and then you have the operating stage, or what you call the operationalization stage of the retail outlet. So these are the 4 major areas you have when you want to construct a fuel station. We have 2 major factors that we consider. The first one has to do with documentation requirements, and then we have what you call site requirements. The documentation requirements are what, if you remember, the first stage I mentioned was what you call a no objection. Those documents are to help you secure the no objection for the siting of the station. So the documentation requirements will be one of an application letter. You will need a fee to be paid, which currently is at 2,000 cedis, but may vary as time goes on. Then you will need a zoning letter or a zoning status report from an MMDA, that's a Metropolitan or Municipal or District Assembly, indicating that that land is suitable for the use of it as a fuel station. Then with that, you will apply to the authority, and then you have what you call a site, a block plan to show the type of plan you intend, or the type of fuel station you intend building on that piece of land. So with that, you would have met what you call the documentation requirements. Then we come to what you call the siting requirements. The siting requirements are divided into 2. You have safety distances to say that whichever land you want to build a fuel station on, there must not be what you call hot works near it. There should not be electrical transmission lines around it to make sure that the site is safe for use, and it should also be at a distance away from environmental sensitive lands or dam sites. Then you have what you call separation distances. Separation distances have to do with the distance of that land to the next retail outlets, which at the moment we say is a minimum of 300 meters away for retail outlets. That is for petroleum products, and if it is for gas, it is a minimum of 500 meters away. So that's the first stage for you to be given a no objection letter to determine where you can site a retail outlet. We found out that there are people who are constructing retail outlets without recourse to the authority, and some people are also selling petroleum products without recourse to the authority. But if we don't take care in regulating this, there are 3 major issues we are going to have. We are going to have what you call quality restraints. Quality restraints in the sense that the type of products we sell to or we regulate in the industry may not meet the standards because people are diluting or dealing with products not in a wholesome way. If we don't also interfere and make sure that the right thing is done, the income expected from the sale and regulation of petroleum products in the country may not accrue to the government. So the authority is bound to make sure that all these things are taken into consideration, and then we regulate the industry in the right way. We have three major reasons for that. You have environmental pollutants. The product itself is explosive or can be corrosive if you don't manage it. And it has to be well saved and well guarded if you deal in petroleum products. So the first issue is that if you have petroleum products and they are not well regulated and stored, you will have the environment being polluted because people will not save and dispose of them in the right way. The second one you will have is that if you store products, petroleum products, and you do not have the right license to store them, you may end up with explosions and things like that, especially domestic situations where people store products which is not legally permissible. So you find that you have people who will store diesel or petrol in their houses when they should not be doing that. The third bit of it is that you have to make sure that products that are sold from regulated sources go to the actual intended use or are used for the intended purpose, so that we do not have issues of cross usage or even smuggling when it comes to the use of that product. The authority is trying to make people to understand that the first stage in the construction of a retail outlet is that you give what you call a no objection. That no objection simply states that the authority has no objection for you to build a station there, but it does not grant you the permission to build the station there. What you now need to do is to consult other regulatory bodies, especially the MMDAs, the EPA, LUSPA, to grant you permission for the use of the land and for the purpose for which you want to build. So when we grant you the no objection, you will then apply for an EPA permit, a fire permit, and then a construction permit from the appropriate district assembly or metropolitan assembly. Then you can be granted a construction permit from us to build. So as far as those regulatory agencies have given you the permission to build on those lands, the authority will then grant you the construction permit. So if these agencies grant you that, it means that wherever they have granted you is suitable for the construction. And let's be mindful that building a station nearer to a residential property doesn't inherently mean that the residential property is not safe, because there are inherent regulations and rules that we input into the construction of a fuel station to make sure it is safe wherever it is located. The first issue is that some of those outlets are not licensed, but they retail in petroleum products. The second one is that we have issues with third-party supply of petroleum products across the country, where people take products from licensed sources and they supply to unlicensed sources. The third one has to do with what you call smuggling of petroleum products, especially at times when the price of petroleum products in Ghana is lower than the surrounding countries we have. So with these three major issues, it makes the government, the authority, it gives us a challenge in making sure that petroleum products are well regulated and stored and sold by approved entities or licensed entities. Well, there are about 9 different situations that can cause us to lock a station down. I'll give you about 5 of them, okay? If a station is not branded, if there's no writing or signage on it to show which company is managing it, it simply means we have to close it down. If that station is receiving third-party products here means that it is not assigned to receive that particular product, let's say diesel or petrol, from the source at which it received it. We will have to close it down to ensure that the product it's receiving meets the right quality and probably even quantities before it is sold. And if the station, we go to test the station and we find out, test the products in the station, we find out that it is contaminated with either water or debris, we will have to close the station down to make sure customers do not take products from that station. And then to make sure their cars don't get contaminated with the fuel they bought. We also have a marking system in the authority where we mark products that are sent to retail outlets. And that marker is to identify that the product was purchased or came from a recognized depot in the country. So when we go and we test and we find out that the product does not have the marker in it, we will have to close the station down to be sure that the product is from a genuine source. Now, there are other ones where the standards, let's say we get there and we find out that the standards for the station in terms of its operations don't meet our standards, especially for what you call emergency response issues. We get there and you don't have a fire extinguisher or you don't have an insurance, we will close the station down to make sure that it meets those standards before we can open it. So for a bulk consumer, you would first need, just like I said, you would need an oil marketing company to apply to the authority on your behalf, because we do not accept individual applications to the authority. What happens is that you will get the oil marketing company, they will request for your certificate of incorporation, they would request for an EPA permit from you, and then they would also request for a fire permit. Now, all these other permits, including one from the District Assembly or MMDA, is to indicate that your facility, one, actually exists, meets requirements for fire, it also meets requirements for the environment, and then we can come and inspect it and make sure that when it meets that requirement, we grant you what you call a bulk consumer license. That means the oil marketing company that has applied on your behalf can supply petroleum products to, or petrol or diesel to that facility up to the quantity that we have license for them to supply. You can reach the National Petroleum Authority on the numbers displayed on the screen. Kindly make sure you also provide a feedback loop to which we can get back to you, especially your phone number or any other form of contact you think the authority can get back to you on.
We hope you found this conversation as informative as we did. We invite you to share your feedback or any questions you might have. Connect with us via our social media channels or email us directly. Remember, your awareness and engagement can lead to safer and more responsible practices in our communities. Until next time, stay informed and stay safe.